Hi, and welcome to True Crime, a channel dedicated to the dark underworld of criminal activity carried out by gangsters, mobsters, cartel leaders, and others. We're bringing you the top 10 most fascinating and mind-boggling facts about the infamous drug lord, Pablo Escobar. From his early life to his rise as the leader of the Medellin Cartel, we'll take a deep dive into his criminal empire, his wealth, and the shocking events that ultimately led to his downfall. Get ready to be amazed, shocked, and maybe even a little bit frightened as we explore the legacy of one of the most notorious figures in modern history. Let's get started. Number 1. Cocaine trafficking and money. It's hard to wrap your head around just how much money Pablo Escobar was raking in during his heyday. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars a week, folks. And he wasn't just hoarding it all in some fancy bank account. No, Escobar was notorious for hiding his cash in the most absurd places imaginable. Think walls, fields, and even graves. Yep, this guy was like a twisted version of a treasure hunter, except the treasure was just massive amounts of money. But here's the kicker, a lot of that money was eaten by rats or destroyed in floods or fires. Can you even imagine? But Escobar wasn't fazed. He had more money than he knew what to do with, and he was happy to keep it stashed away in whatever nook or cranny he could find. So join us as we dive into the wild world of Pablo Escobar and his unbelievable wealth. Trust us, you won't want to miss this. Number 2. Smuggling Operations. Pablo Escobar was a man who knew how to seize an opportunity. From his humble beginnings as a small-time crook, he quickly realized that there was a fortune to be made in the world of drug trafficking. He started as a marijuana smuggler, but it wasn't long before he saw the potential of cocaine. And boy, did he capitalize on it. Escobar's network soon expanded to cover every corner of the drug trade. He used small planes to ship cocaine into the United States, eventually building up a fleet of 15 larger aircraft and 6 helicopters. But when the DEA started cracking down on his aerial operations, he didn't give up. Instead, he got even more creative. He began dropping the cargo from his planes into international waters, using speedboats and even submarines to smuggle it into the US. But here's where things get wild. Escobar was so rich that he bought a Learjet just to fly his money back to Colombia. That's right, he had so much cash that he needed a freaking private jet just to transport it. It's hard to even imagine the kind of wealth and power this man wielded. Number 3. Loving father. Pablo Escobar may have been one of the most notorious drug lords in history, but he was also a man with a family, a devoted son, and a doting father of 2. While some sources say he was a loving husband, others claim he had mistresses. But regardless of his romantic entanglements, there's no denying that he went to great lengths to keep his loved ones safe and protected. Despite his illegal activities, Escobar was determined to give his family a life of luxury. And he spared no expense, whether it was buying his son a soccer team or showering his daughter with expensive gifts. He wanted nothing but the best for them. But perhaps the most jaw-dropping example of his devotion to his family came during their time in hiding in the jungle. When his daughter came down with a fever, Escobar allegedly made a fire using a whopping $2 million just to keep her warm. It's hard to even fathom that kind of wealth and extravagance. So while he may have been a ruthless criminal to many, to his family, he was a provider and protector. Number 4. Properties. Pablo Escobar wasn't just a wealthy drug lord. He was a man who loved the finer things in life. And with a net worth estimated at over $30 billion, he certainly had the means to indulge his passions. While much of his money went towards bribes and smuggling operations, he wasn't afraid to spend some of it on himself. Escobar was particularly fond of cars, and he owned a fleet of them that would make any auto enthusiast drool. But it wasn't just cars, he also had several residences and safe houses scattered throughout Colombia. The most impressive of these was undoubtedly Hacienda Naples, a sprawling estate just 90 miles from Medellin. This luxurious property wasn't just a home for Escobar and his family, it even had its private zoo. But Escobar's extravagance didn't stop there. He also owned a stunning Caribbean retreat called Isla Grande, complete with pristine beaches and crystal clear waters. Unfortunately, the complex was abandoned after his death and has since fallen into ruin, but the memories of his opulent lifestyle still linger. Number 5. Loved by the people. It's hard to imagine that a man responsible for so much violence and destruction could be loved by anyone. But in the case of Pablo Escobar, that's exactly what happened. Despite his nefarious reputation, many people saw him as a modern-day Robin Hood, using his vast wealth to help those in need. In addition to building hospitals, schools, and housing projects for the poor, Escobar was also a huge soccer fan. He built soccer courts and sponsored children's teams, and he even supported Medellin's own Atletico Nacional. When the team won the prestigious Copa Libertadores tournament, Escobar was overjoyed, and his friend, legendary goalie René Higuita, was by his side to celebrate. Even though Escobar was a wanted man, the people of Medellin stood by him. They helped him evade the law, and many saw him as a hero. When he died, more than 25,000 people came to his funeral, a testament to just how deeply he had touched their lives. Number 6. Politics. Pablo's foray into politics was a testament to his insatiable thirst for power. He may have had humble beginnings as an alternate member of Congress, but his ambitions knew no bounds. Unfortunately, his actions proved to be detrimental to the political landscape. When Justice Minister Rodrigo Lara Bonilla exposed his drug trafficking activities, Escobar orchestrated the minister's assassination. The situation escalated during the 1989 elections when candidate Luis Galán made a promise to extradite Escobar. The drug lord didn't take kindly to the statement and placed a $500,000 bounty on Galán's head. In a heinous act of violence, Galán was killed in front of 10,000 people while delivering a speech. Escobar's political aspirations were a mere facade for his criminal activities, which were ultimately his undoing. Number 7. Time in jail. Pablo Escobar's life was a bizarre mix of brutality and extravagance. While notorious for his criminal activities, he had a unique way of getting what he wanted. One of the most striking examples was the construction of his prison, La Catedral. After negotiating with the Colombian authorities, Pablo surrendered himself in 1991. However, being the kingpin he was, he made his demands clear. He wanted to serve his sentence in his custom-built prison. And so, La Catedral came to be. Situated on top of a hill, La Catedral was more like a luxury resort than a prison. It had everything Pablo could want, from a soccer pitch to a jacuzzi. He even had a waterfall in his prison. Guards at La Catedral were handpicked by Pablo, ensuring he had the best of the best. As we look back on his life, it's hard to imagine that someone responsible for so much pain and suffering could have a sense of humor. Yet, the fact remains that Pablo Escobar was a man who lived life on his terms, even if that meant building his jail. Number 8. Escape. Escobar's escape from La Catedral marked the beginning of an intense manhunt that lasted over a year. The Colombian government, aided by the United States, threw everything they had into capturing the notorious drug lord. DEA agents Steve Murphy and Javier F. Pina were on the front lines of the operation, risking their lives to bring Escobar to justice. But it wasn't just law enforcement officers who were targeted by Escobar. He also put a bounty on their heads, offering $300,000 for the assassination of Murphy and Pina. Even the future U.S. President Joe Biden played a role in the fight against Escobar, supporting the U.S. government's efforts to bring him to justice. The chase for Pablo Escobar became one of the most intense and high-stakes manhunts in history, with both sides determined to come out on top. Number 9. Death. It was a moment that would go down in history, the day that one of the world's most notorious drug lords met his end. Pablo Escobar had been in hiding for months, evading the authorities with his trademark cunning and ruthlessness. But on that fateful day in December 1993, his luck ran out. It started with a phone call, a call that would ultimately lead to his downfall. The electronic surveillance team had been tracking Escobar's movements for weeks, and they finally caught a break. They traced his cell phone signal to a middle-class neighborhood in Medellin, and a raid was quickly organized. As the agents burst into the house, Escobar and his bodyguard made a desperate bid for freedom. They scrambled over the rooftops, hoping to evade capture. But the officers were ready and waiting, and a fierce gun battle broke out. In the chaos that followed, Escobar was hit several times, in the leg, in the chest. But it was the fatal gunshot to the ear that would end his life. Some said it was an execution, a final act of revenge by those who had suffered at his hands. Others claimed that Escobar had taken his own life, unable to face the consequences of his actions. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain: the death of Pablo Escobar brought a sense of closure to many. Number 10. Strange Legacy. Pablo Escobar may be best known for his crimes and brutal reign as a drug lord, but there's one legacy of his that few would have expected: a herd of hippopotamuses. Yes, you heard that right, hippos. In the late 1980s, Escobar acquired 4 hippos for his private zoo at Hacienda Naples. At the time, it seemed like just another eccentricity from a man who had everything. But after Escobar's death, the hippos were left to their own devices. And that's when things got interesting. Without any predators to worry about, the hippos began to breed and multiply. Today, their population is estimated to be between 90 and 120 individuals, a startling number for a species that isn't native to Colombia. But the hippo's presence is more than just curiosity. They pose a potential danger to local fishermen and other animals, and their impact on the Magdalena River Basin's ecosystem is a concern for conservationists. It's a strange and unexpected legacy for a man who caused so much destruction and harm. But in a way, it's fitting. Escobar was known for his larger-than-life personality and his willingness to take risks. And in the end, the hippos he left behind are a reminder of that, a reminder that even the most unlikely things can take on a life of their own. Thank you for watching another amazing video from our true crime team. Like, comment, and subscribe. And stay tuned to our next real-life true crime video.